Hello, everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Why Can't We Be Friends? Why are you laughing?
Because you were making a weird, you were going, welcome to another episode. We have something special for you today. We are bringing you an interview with our friend, Katie Selvidge. I met Katie probably 8 years ago. She ran a magazine. She did a course for people who are entrepreneurs, and now she leads a more quiet life in the country where she raises children and sheep.
Babydoll sheep.
Babydoll.
It's a really good conversation, and I think you're going to love it.
So without further ado, here's our interview with Katie. Guys,
here we are.
We're here.
Yep.
How are you? Thank you, Katie, for coming.
Yes.
All the way over to Sand Springs.
Oh, I forget how hilly and pretty it is on this side of town. And I used to do a lot of interviews for the ballet at KTOL. So I was telling Hadley, my daughter, I'm like, Mommy used to go through the hills of Selvidge to give interviews about the ballet. How random is that?
's been through the hills, baby.
It is pretty out here.
It is beautiful.
Guys, thank you.
Your house is beautiful.
I was born and raised in this area, so I feel like I don't know obviously I've been out of this town, but I think we're always just like, it's here. We live here. It's fine.
It's got a cool little small town vibe.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, like I said, because I've grown up in it that I'm like, all right.
Don't resent your roots, Holly.
I'm trying not to. Micah would move to New York City tomorrow if he had the option. I'm not interested in that.
Didn't you live in New York?
For a short time, yeah.
Okay, so for people who don't know who you are or what you do, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie. So how far back do you want to go? So I've had a colorful background, life, career. I think the most recent, I used to own a magazine and sold it in 2020, and since then, or 2019, and then since then, I have been pretty much a stay-at-home mom on some acreage south of here, raising sheep and my daughters, and just started to get back into a little bit more work this year. But yeah, I used to run a magazine and be very busy and very full days, and went to full-time that to making mac and cheese in 2020.
A seamless transition is what we like around here.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to have you on because you do have such an interesting life and have had so many different, you were really into ballet. And then I think I met you right around the time you started teaching bar.
Oh, yeah.
And that chapter of your life.
From bar to sheep, she does it all.
Yes. And then Cottage Hill. And one of the first times that I actually really got to know you, we went to lunch. I don't know if you remember this. It's been probably like 8 years ago now. We went to Cosmos, which closed down.
Rest in peace.
There was a season where all of my meetings were at Cosmos because they had the best lox sandwich.
That was the place to go.
Yes, I want to talk to you, but I also want the sandwich.
Yeah.
And we will talk after I finish the sandwich.
So we went, it was right when I had started my blog, which was still the Urban Acres.
Yes.
And you were asking me like what I was doing, and I didn't really have a getting answer. I think it was about Instagram. And you just looked at me and go, well, Instagram is not your business. And
Who was that sassy woman?
And I remember being like, what do you mean? But after that, like that has stuck with me all of these years later when I start to get distracted with, well, I need to be making reels and I need to be doing this. And just like, Katie told me Instagram is not my business.
Katie said.
So you have, you like helping other entrepreneurs. That's another thing you had was the editor's course. So how did you get started? How did you start a magazine? How does one start a magazine?
Yes, because that was my first encounter and knowledge of you was, she runs a magazine. Yes, with Emily. And so, which I was just getting into photography or wedding photography at that time. And so, everything that I knew about you was she runs Cottage Hill and it's amazing, and magazines. And then I did a writing thing that you had done once at Spain Ranch.
Oh, that was my editor's course prototype experience.
Okay, so I was there.
For $10.
Yes.
You can come workshop with me and get a free sandwich. I remember that.
Yes.
Gosh. So So Cottage Hill, before Cottage Hill, I had been a Pilates instructor, and I had worked in nonprofits. I worked with Tulsa Ballet, American Cancer Society. I had also been a wedding planner for a little bit, working for another wedding planner. I had been doing, I had multiple jobs out of college. I just wanted to try everything, do everything, and I kind of ran myself into the ground. I think especially during that time frame, I think in a woman's life, the allure of girl boss is right there. And it started as just exciting and fun, and let's see what I can do. When I was at American Cancer Society, the week I was onboarding, they announced layoffs. And I had been dealing with a heart issue that I found out through stress. I have a valve that doesn't close properly, and when I'm stressed, it doesn't do well. And so I got this layoff, and I had this heart issue, and I was wrapping things up and at home, and I had a habit of tearing up magazine, like Martha Stewart, Veranda, Southern. I would tear them up as how I think they should have been.
I love that.
The audacity.
The right way.
How could they don't know what they're doing.
As I tell this story now, I'm just like, man, what an audacious child. And I threw a stack on the coffee table, and my husband was like, why don't you just start your own magazine? You're always ripping these up. And as an entrepreneur, you can make your own hours and you won't be stressed.
It'll be easy.
Everyone can do it.
Dun, dun, dun. But, it was through that blind audacity and that blind faith and that let's Google how to make a let's call these random distributors and have them explain all these barcode things to me. How do we make this happen? And it was literally a step-by-step Google by Google. I gave myself 1 year to save money to print the first issue of teaching Pilates, and every week I gave myself a goal to call or talk to someone I didn't know that I would want to be part of the magazine. So these, Jen Wong, these fancy photographers. Mm-hmm. And I would say, I'm making a magazine. Don't gossip with me, but tell me what you don't like about wedding magazines, lifestyle magazines now. What do you wish existed, and how can I make that? 52 people. Once a week.
Yeah.
Saved my money, and then I paid for branding, built a website, and just started putting something together with a really great designer, Catherine of Crim Brands.
That's amazing. So you started, you launched the first one, and it was a quarterly magazine?
It was biannual.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it was named Cottage Hill. So I'm not huge on Enneagram, but I do believe I have strong 4 inside of me. Mm-hmm. Everything I do has to be intentional. So Cottage Hill is named after a road in my hometown. And the whole concept of it was inspired by my family. My great-grandparents were a big part of my life growing up. They didn't have a lot, but every moment with them was just an occasion. And it was beautiful with what they had. And it was just fun. And we danced after dinner, to the record player in Tijuana Brat. There were just so many moments of my childhood that were special because of them and how they brought our family together. Mm-hmm. And so the whole concept of it was I wanted beautiful wedding photography because that's the industry I knew. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted this idea of when you plan your wedding, you're planning your life. And so what kind of life do you want to start? What kind of legacy are you leaving behind? And I always, had the battle of not pressure, you're leaving a legacy, but the idea of just living your days in the ways that you're going to look back on and be proud of and love and have those memories. And so Cottage Hill, the first issue, I think, was called the Homecoming issue.
I still remember that magazine because I remember buying it. Well, I was meeting Emily in Oklahoma City. I would drive back and forth, and I had shot with her, and I went in a store and grabbed it and was like, oh, I just remember it was just exciting.
It was so exciting. And I just was cleaning out my bookshelves and going through them, showing my daughter.
Oh.
And the first one was, because I grew up in a military family, and we lived in Hawaii, and the first cover was shot in Hawaii. I obviously could not afford to be in that shoot.
Yeah.
But for the first time in 100 years, there was a hurricane in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh.
That week.
What?
And the dress was being flown from New York. The models were on a different island than the photographers. And I'm on the phone at odd hours being is everyone okay? Do we all know what we're doing? And
but also, is the shoot happening?
Right. Are we going to I have this people are buying ads and I got to come through.
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh.
It was very stressful, but it was amazing to get the hard copy in my hands and in Barnes & Noble, which...
That's amazing. So is it distributed nationally?
It was, and internationally.
Wow.
I never knew the specifics of the international, but I had a friend, she was going through Spain and found it in an airport. And I was like, thanks, distributor, for not giving me that data, but cool.
I mean, cool, yeah. But where are there sales?
Where are these things that I paid a lot of money for?
Do I have to file international taxes?
I know. Yeah. Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Oh, if the IRS is listening, she paid it.
Kara?
Y'all, blood, sweat, tears, and all my money. But it was an amazing experience. And
so what year was that it launched? Was that 2015?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So how long did you hold on to that? You said till the end of...
I sold in 2019. We stopped printing in 17 or 18, I can't remember.
It went digital for a little while.
It went digital for a year. I knew I needed to sell it like a year before I did.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to ask. At what point did you start to sense, okay, I think a transition is coming?
When my daughter was 2 and we started looking at, we'd either started looking at or we did start moving to our acreage because that was kind of our marriage goal and game was to, build our own legacy on property, have animals and gardens and the whole thing. And so that was becoming a much more alluring than magazine work. And I had kind of accomplished what I wanted and was just starting to get new curiosities into other things. And
I'd like to take credit for selling you your first chicken coop.
You do? Yes. I know. I wish we still had it because we're going through chicken drama right now. But yeah.
Isn't there always?
Yeah. There's always chicken drama. But yes, yeah.
So you knew, how many issues had you put out by the time you sold?
How many did we do? 4 or 5.
Okay. And then you decided to sell, but you were still doing, when did editor's course come into play?
I was asked too early to speak at a workshop. I previously had a personal Instagram account back in 2014 I was at like 10,000 followers or something that was, cool back then.
Yeah, big time.
And I was starting to get asked to speak at things that I had no business speaking at because I didn't have the experience or the knowledge. And so I started to get asked to speak at these things and didn't really know what to say because I didn't feel called and I didn't feel equipped enough to talk much business as I was figuring out my own business. So I came up with what started as being called Assured and Well, which is what you did with me.
Yes.
And it was the concept of how to go for something with full conviction. Because when I was putting together that first magazine, I'll never forget this how it literally started. It was late at night and this sweet stylist sent me a file of all the images from the shoot and did not cull them.
Oh, good.
So there was like 300 shots of a tablescape. And me second guessing and being insecure was like, if I don't pick the right one for this centerfold, like what? I mean, so I'm like freaking out. People are buying ads and actually believing in this, which shocks me. I'm giving like everything I've saved for a year and some of our personal to make this happen. I'm stressed out. My husband is peacefully sleeping, and I go to our bedroom.
Always.
Wake him up, and I'm just like, what if this fails, and we have no money, and everyone, like, thinks I'm a scam, and, like, this doesn't, like, they don't print it because it's not good enough. I mean, I had a full-blown panic attack, and he so sweetly goes, well, what if it does fail? What are you going to do? I remember our little hallway slamming that door and going back to the kitchen of my office of the editor of Cottage, my kitchen, and just sitting there and writing out what will I do if everything goes wrong and I have to pay these people back with money I don't have. The printing doesn't work and I have to pay for extra printing. The distributor changes their mind on their contract. Like, wrote it all out. And in every scenario, I believed in myself that I would fix it. And I knew that I would make sure I did right. And it just gave me so much peace knowing that, no, I do not want that to happen. But I have walked through this in my mind at least. And therefore, I can put my passion back behind it, pick a stupid picture and go to bed.
Yeah.
And that's where Assured and Well came, because so many people would come to me and ask, like, how did you start something so big and scary? And you had, like, we literally had nothing. I mean, a Pilates instructor money.
Yeah.
Like, starting this. And so much of it was I had such conviction and hope and passion into it. And I walked through worst case scenario knowing that I'm the type of person that will fix and make things right no matter what it takes. So I don't have anything to lose.
So what year did you, okay, let's see, 2015 you started, and then what year did you become a mom?
2016.
So you were still in the throes of Cottage Hill very much.
You were fresh. If that was, I mean, you're 1 year into it. Was this like, were you prepared? And I ask this not in the sense of like, were you prepared to be a mom?
No.
But Sallie and I have both talked about something mutual that we share is we had this fear of becoming a mom while running a business or trying to create your own thing, because what if everything that I want to do gets thrown out the window because I have to be a mom, which is so hard to even say because I love being a mom so much. And I'm like, I will throw it all away. But being in the like at the starting line going, I had a husband who was saying like, I'm ready for a kid. And me going, well, I'm building my legacy.
A girl boss,
Yes. And it was almost like, oh, I can't think about that. So how was it going?
I have to have an extensive plan.
Yes. I have to, let me check off my full list and then we can do this. So if you were 1 year into maybe seeing like, oh, it's actually working, I'm taking off and doing this.
We were blowing up. I was not prepared. Yeah.
And then, so how did motherhood enter that picture?
I was once again blissfully naive and unaware. Okay. And I was like, it's going to work out. We're just, girls, ladies, do you want to know? I was such a good business person. Okay. I started editor's course as a 12-week weekly group coaching thing the week I had my child.
Oh, beautiful.
I was fresh out of the hospital. I had a very traumatic birth with Hadley. We almost didn't have a second. Fresh out of the hospital, can't hold my bladder, can't walk. Like, cannot walk. My legs, it was a whole thing. Could not walk, sitting on my computer with a baby, telling people how to run their business.
Oh, yes.
So that's how I went into it. Don't suggest it. I mean, I don't think you should overplan, but that pendulum for me was way too far on the other side. But yeah.
So
that's what I did.
I love that.
Did you start to feel any, like, the tension of I'm spending a ton of time on Cottage Hill and not enough time at home, or did you feel like that was pretty what were your feelings?
I didn't feel that at all. So I for a while I kind of questioned if I was a good mother, because I had a few friends who were due around the same time as I was, who also were in the wedding industry or had worked or whatnot, and they had a lot of emotional things to say on Instagram and to me about becoming a mother, and I just was like, oh, she's just sitting next to me while I'm typing, like. I just didn't really faze me that much. It wasn't until she started being mobile, that
that's a game
that I was
changer.
like, oh, this might be a problem. I should think about this. But not initially. And when she did become mobile, we were slowing down just naturally with the business, and we had moved to our property. And I was telling you guys before, there's a great daycare right next to us. That's a church, and I loved them. And so, she went there when I had busy days, and I'd take her out when I didn't, and we'd go plant stuff. And so I will be the first to say that, there's a lot that I did wrong, and there's a lot I didn't know. But I do think almost my naivete of just being like, oh, well, we're just gonna make it work, and when it doesn't, we're gonna cut, and we'll just figure it out. I think having a bit of a less dramatic mindset as much as possible, considering hormones and such, I think really made that transition a lot just less dramatic for me.
I see a lot, touching on what Holly said, this idea that, like, well, when I am a mom, I'm not going to be able to do anything. And really seeing children as a hindrance to my personal dreams. No. And obviously you had a second child, and you
tagged back in. Yeah. You said there's got to be more where that came from.
There's a lot more. I have met Miss Opal. But you don't see your girls as a hindrance, and just looking at what you do share on Instagram, it seems like you have just really beautifully included them. You said whenever you were coming up, like, Hadley has really enjoyed going to your work meetings. Seems like she's got some of the same gifts in her that you also have. And I just What would you say to moms or women who are like, well, I don't want to have kids because they're going to hinder me in my dreams?
So I think motherhood and business and the overall conversation is such a nuanced individual thing that the advice is going to be so different per person. But if I could give like an overlaying foundation advice, it's no friend, no family, no expert is going to be able to tell you what to do and it be the right thing. Like, you have to decide for yourself what kind of mom and what kind of life you're going to have. For me, in my opinion, what's worked for me is just focusing on how much I love my kids. Mm-hmm. And then the decisions come from there. If I want to work, I'm going to work. I feel really good when I work. I feel good, like I didn't work in 2020 and my brain, I don't know what, I was like, ooh, I need to do something.
Yeah.
And so I have to. And so I love my children, and my 6-year-old can sit in meetings with me. And if she, if I need to really focus, I'm not afraid to give her an iPad for an hour. Like, I'm not worried because I love my kids, and I'm going to make decisions that are best for them and their personality and their needs. And, you always make up the difference later.
So let's talk about 2020. You went from doing a lot of things to doing not a lot of things, like in the work sense.
Oh, it was like 60 to 0, like 100%.
Okay, so you slowed way down in 2020. What did that look like? What were you doing?
So I had sold the magazine, like I said, because we had moved to our property, and I was expecting and just had, when we sold our second daughter, and I was like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom and live this, very beautiful, holistic, wear linen all the time life. But I had still had them in like a mom's day out. So I had scheduled like 2 or 3 days. I'd have a little break and pursue my creative, what's next for Katie Selvidge, and all of those sorts of things. And then sold the magazine. I literally wrapped the transition in February. The lockdown happened. Wow. And I'm like, it's okay. This is what having my Julie Andrews moment.
For this.
Here we go, girls. And it was not good. Because I had literally gone from traveling and speaking to having this like respect and using my brain in these ways and working with people, always talking to people all day, every day, to like cocoa melon and mac and cheese. And, just stopping cold turkey. And it was difficult for me to figure out a lot of things. My youngest also went through a sleep regression for like a year, girlfriend. And even after she had wrapped that up, I had developed like very insomniac behaviors. And so I wasn't in the right mind space. It was a shock to me that being a stay-at-home mom wasn't what I had hoped. I hate crafts. I am not good at baking. I love to eat, but I don't like to cook it. There was a lot of things that I was like, man, I thought this was going to be just joy, and I really don't want to do this. Like, I love my children and I love being with them, and I love my days with them, but I was like, there's a backside of my brain that is like frying itself, like
not healthy,
needing to do. And, I got into reading more, and I tried to do that, but it just, it made me realize that that's just not good. That's not going to work for me. If I can have some work and have some alone time and have some professional time, it makes me a much better mom. So for example, like my youngest is at a daycare right now, but when we are done, I have a few emails, and then I'm going to get her out early and go swimming. And I got to feed myself, and she is a wild child. I mean, if I don't have her doing things around the house, it will be like, Dot the other night all the time. And so it's like, this is good for her. This is good for me. My 6-year-old's at the age where she's probably eavesdropping and will give me some pointers in the car. Like, it just works for us. And, as long as everyone is happy and we're developing and we're healthy and we're like, I'm not going to worry if, it's been 2 hours and she's not with me, Yeah. She's happy. She's probably having a snack.
Yeah. She's enjoying it.
Right. I'm not missing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I visited your house. It's been almost a year, over a year now. I need to invite myself back.
Yes, you both do.
We'll be back soon.
Your house is beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
Your land is beautiful. It's extremely peaceful. And
It's very quiet.
It's
It was a
extremely
very quiet 2020. Yeah.
But I think that I value that so much, and seeing how you have just cultivated a different pace of life, but you're still doing things that you enjoy doing. Tell us about how you got into sheep.
Sheep. All right. So when we literally were on our honeymoon, we had both, like, on the beach, we're like, our goal is to have land, raise animals, and gardens. And we always like to say it was before it was cool.
Yeah.
We wanted that for everyone who wanted a homestead. It was 2012 because I'm kind of a hoarder and things, but it was 2012 and I had Architectural Digest neighbor because it was on the cover, and they had done a story about Blackberry Farm in Tennessee. Have y'all heard of it?
I have not.
It is like, I've never been, but it is the most beautiful, like, farm resort, and it's like rolling hills and fog, and they
Okay.
have sheep.
Okay.
So there was a family photo, and there was a sheep in the corner of the, like, family photo. And I was like, I see cows, I see horses, but I'm not seeing sheep in Oklahoma. And, like, my brain was just like, what if I did sheep one day? I like to eat sheep. They're cute. Like, I mean, there's a lot of cool things I didn't know. And then I follow Brooke Giannetti of Velvet and Linen, who has Patina Farm, and she had Babydoll sheep. And I thought, here's another.
cute.
So darling.
Here's
They're so cute.
Babydoll sheep.
Okay, well, here's another naive Katie, like, going into a thing. So I'm like, Babydoll sheep. They're so cute and sweet and little. They'll be easy to manage as like a gate to another animal. You know, if I wanted to have, like, a flock of sheep for meat or something, these will be great practice and with the kiddos. Baby dolls are the strongest sheep breed. So if you try, to, like, manage them, like shearing them, trimming their hooves, they are the strongest, and their center of gravity is so low, it is very difficult to manage them. Now, is it worth it? Yes. But it was one of those things where I was like, oh, my sweet darling, when we got them, my sweet darling, we're going to have, like, this moment of, like, Kristen Bell and an otter where, like, or whatever it is, the sloth,
Yes.
I was bawling, and they come out of the crate, and, like, they're kind of like the cats of farm animals. They'll come to you if they feel like it.
They have emotions.
Yeah.
They're
They'll
emotional.
come, get a chin scratch, and they're like, okay, I'm done. So, no, but I love them so, so much. And that's how that happened. And after we had been established at our place for a little bit, I was like, it's time for sheep.
Time to get those sheep out. So were you I feel like I have an assumption based off of this conversation, but I want to hear what you would say. So in the selling of Cottage Hill.
Oh, yeah.
Was that a challenge? Because I imagine building something up, making it great. It's so meaningful. My family is infused in this. Here you go. I'm done. Like, I'm walking away and seeing it transition to something obviously it wasn't a continuation of Cottage Hill, but to just go, like, I'm truly closing this chapter. What did that?
It took I had made the decision to sell it and didn't pursue a buyer for a year.
Wow.
Because I had put so much of my life into it. And there were times where I'd be like, well, it'd be nice to accomplish this. Or it'd be nice to, like, so our last issue, we were supposed to have Chip and Jo on the cover.
I feel like
Did they bail?
So something came up, and our manager was like, we had to cancel you in Dateline. Like, don't feel bad. And I was like,
dang it, Jo.
and I was like, come on now. We had Florette, which is Aaron and Chris, and they're amazing and wonderful. But I was like, man, we were so close to that.
Yeah.
Like, what could I... And I had just decided that Chip and Jo were going to be the last cover, and I was going to move along. And I was like, well, I was so close to that. What if I could do that? I had those thoughts of, well, maybe I put them both in daycare. It was one of those juggle thoughts of, like, what's going to work best. When kids are babies, you don't know their personalities quite yet. And you're like, is this going to be healthy? There was just a lot of variables that were not ironed out. And so we went on a trip to Colorado, and I'm not one to be like, don't put a lot of stock in signs, but we went to Colorado, and I got a massage, and this guy like beat me up. And he was pushing on me and he's like, you must let go. I mean, he was screaming. And Nate had said on this trip, he's like, you need to decide when we get back home or if you're going to start pursuing a buyer or not. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to let God speak to me through this. And this guy, you must let go. He was hurting me and he was pushing, and then he would just stop and he's like, I can't do this if you don't let go. And I was like, I was crying, and he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, you're a sign from God. I have to let go of my magazine.
Oh, you're crying because you're emotionally moved.
Oh no, I love like massages that hurt.
So it was real massage therapy.
This was a deep heart tissue massage.
It was. And I like came out of the spot crying, and I was like, Nate, I have to sell. I have to let go. And God said through this sweet man who gave me bruises. So, and it was a year after that I started to put feelers out, because it was hard creatively as a mom. You know, you can't decide things until you live it out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a year of awkward.
I think that that's good. So for me, with like Urban Acres, I've thought before, like, is this what I'm going to be doing forever?
Oh, you can't think that way.
And I'm like, I can't know. It's it's good for now. Mm-hmm. And when it's time to move on to the next thing, then we will move on to the next thing. And I am like, I relate very much to waking up in the middle of the night and going, what do I do if all of this stuff goes wrong? And just realizing we will deal with it, and it will be okay. And it sounds like for you, like Nate has been a very good keeping you level, bringing up questions and concern. I mean, it was his idea to start the magazine in the first place.
Sweet Nate. Sweet Nate. He has no idea what he gets himself into. Yeah.
But having someone that you can, you know, you're in this together, but maybe who doesn't have the same emotional ties to it as you do.
Yes, and that's so important to find, whether it's in your spouse or a business partner or a friend who will actually be. I had a lot of yes men friends.
Yeah.
And I would get mad at Nate for telling me, like, you shouldn't spend $5,000 on a marketing video. And I'm like, but you don't understand. It's art. It's art. You know, and these people, you know, so it was so great to have him. And everyone needs a boss. Every entrepreneur needs a boss in their life to help guide them and not be afraid to say when you're making crazy mistakes.
That's so interesting you say that. So Andrew and I were talking about, because my business is in transition right now. It's growing, and we're putting on
incredible.
Big girl, thank you.
Like, I mean, like voice memos you sent me a year ago, 2 years ago to today. Yeah, it's incredible.
A lot of tears. But Andrew, so my husband, stepped down from his job, and he does just freelance stuff. And when people ask me what he does, I'm like, it's kind of hard to explain.
Right.
We don't have the time.
And it's a lot of everything. But he's really like stepped into seeing like, okay, the Urban Acres is not just your thing, it's our thing. And I was telling him the other day, I was like, I am not the CEO boss. I am like the vision. I kind of know what I want to do, but I'm like, if you are the boss of this thing, I feel like I can absolutely flourish if it's us together. And when I'm out on an island, I can't make any decisions. And it feels, in today's culture, it feels kind of counterintuitive. I think sometimes to be, it's almost like I've told him, I'm like, I'm kind of submitting this to you. Like we're leading this together, but ultimately I'm deferring to you. The freedom that has given me in the last couple of weeks. And I've just told him, it's just like, this is so much better with you being the head of this thing and me going under it. And I'm still like, I'm making the Instagram and I'm making the designs and all of that. But it's much more of a partnership. And I think when people want to start things, even motherhood, and you are out on an island by yourself, it's really lonely. And having someone that can be your sounding board and will not just be a yes man.
Right.
And that's what we've had fights because he's been honest with me.
Yes.
You're hurting my feelings. But
it's gonna listen to this and be like, see.
But it's true. I mean, even that conversation when you told me, well, Instagram is not your business. At the time, I was just like, what are you talking about?
She doesn't know.
She
doesn't know me the way that
that's how I'm going to make money. And it's like, no, that's not how you're going to make money.
You can, but that wasn't your business plan.
No, that's that's exactly it. And so I think in talking about all of this, I think you have to go, what are my priorities? And some things are going to have to sacrifice to other things depending on their priority.
Yeah, and you have to have boundaries on anything to have people. You're right. It's counterintuitive. Boundaries and discipline give you freedom.
Yeah.
And I mean, we would do shoots and a stylist would be like, I have this idea and it was so ambiguous. And I'm like, I get that you can create that way, but in order for it to be editorial, like I'm going to have to tell you, like I would tell couples like their exact story. He just like said the dumbest thing and you're in the middle of a fight, but you're about to make up. Yeah. And like, I mean, the more direction and the more clarity, the more freedom people can have, like you said, whether it's in business, in creativity, in motherhood. And for me, I did a lot of things wrong. Hadley was probably in childcare too long at certain times, but what I did do right was the priority was I love her, and I'm going to make decisions based on what's good for her and that love. And I mean, no matter what, you're going to mess up your kids at something. Yeah. My parents are incredible, zero complaints, but there's still things that I'll be like, they said that, and I don't think they knew that what that meant, Yeah. And I'm no matter what, you're gonna there's gonna be something they'll bring up when they're in their teen years. So lead with love. Everything usually figures itself out.
So where does that bring you today? What do your days look like now?
So I haven't talked much about it, but I'm really excited. So I'm starting to work again. I'm doing freelance.
Yeah.
Freelance. I got approached to do social media for some local businesses and just kind of help with marketing. Give people boundaries, honestly, as I feel like what I'm doing, and giving them systems. And so I've started to work for a local nursery, which is really fun because they're so nice. And I'm like, I get to play with plants and learn. I mean, I really enjoy it. And there's a few other people I started working with that have interesting pursuits and ambitions. And so it's really fun, kind of like you said, to be my own boss with a boss.
Yeah.
To work for others and what I love and maybe they have no clue about. That's what I missed about the magazine. I missed matchmaking photographers with stylists and stories with, I'm like, oh, this floral designer will love this because, I missed that collaborative feeling, but also being able to lay the law in a nice way of how things will go. And so it's been really nice this year to be a supportive role in other businesses that's creative. And sometimes I feel like they're boss, but they're the boss. It's a very nice thing to come back to.
So if people wanted to find you, it's Katie. You had to just switch your Instagram handle.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
She posted a very provocative video of her daughters picking strawberries.
It was so political.
How could you?
It was so political, but I just had to let it out. Yeah, Opal picking strawberries, and then I know. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go for it.
So for 10 years, editor's course in coaching, I'm would always pat myself on the back and be like, what, people's Instagrams can just disappear. And I always was super I had a big Instagram and I deleted it in 2005 and I was like, it doesn't own me. I own you. And then last year I started to really document the girls and are for myself, I wasn't really business pursuing anything. And then it goes away. And it had happened to someone I knew who had took a video of goats and it just deleted, gone.
So the lesson is maybe stay away from farm animals.
I guess Instagram doesn't like homesteaders.
Maybe it's homesteading. They're we got to start weeding people out. So we're done.
There's homesteaders of all political ranges, guys. Come on. Yeah. So she was picking strawberries, and then it was will not load, and I thought it was our crappy internet. And then it wouldn't load my feed, and then I was logged out, and it said user does not exist. So I'm no longer Katie O. Selvidge, which I really loved the O. I had a college professor find out what my middle name was, and she was like, you must have O on all of your resumes. And she was an inspiration, and so I was always Katie O. Selvidge. So people always introduced me as a leprechaun, Katie O. Selvidge. And now I'm just Katie Selvidge.
But
the O is gone.
You guys need to find Katie. She also posts usually on Fridays, Friday Funnies.
Tonight, girl.
Yeah, she goes through and goes through all the funny TikToks so that you do not have to.
I am your TikTok guide.
And I laugh so hard. That is one of the things I look
I
forward
have
to.
84 saved videos
Do you
right
really?
now.
That's
and I've got to
amazing.
call them because I'm like, I saved them late. So it started that 2020 when I wasn't sleeping. I joined TikTok because what else are you going to do
What
when
else
you can't
was there?
sleep? Romance novels or TikTok,
Yeah.
whatever I'm in the mood for. So started TikTok, and then, the first month is wild. Mm-hmm. You're like, what are those on?
What am
Yes.
I doing? What are you showing me?
Ooh, anxiety. And then the Chinese know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They do. I'm like, I whisper to Nate, I need a new lunchbox. And it's like, beautiful new lunchboxes. And I'm like, oh, thank you. My ads and stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, my For You page is amazing right now. And it's because you have to put in the time.
You do,
And
it's
it's-
worth it though. I'm gonna
Just get
I'm
through
gonna,
that.
I'm gonna echo that. It's worth it.
It's right. It's just that first month.
I laugh
weird.
hard and I'm not on it constantly, but I will take a little breather just to get on it because I will belly laugh at videos. I'm like, this is a good time.
I haven't pushed past the first month because
You
get
have a
these
really interesting
strangest,
There
the
We'll have
weirdest
to, we'll have to show you some
videos
of
that I-
Sally's for you.
that I send
I would
Holly.
like to.
I'm like, what the heck is this?
Because I'll tell Sally, I'm like, you've got to watch these videos. She's like, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. She's seeing a very specific type of video.
Like very,
We'll leave it at that.
yeah.
My husband, when I lost my Instagram in solidarity, he left Instagram and joined TikTok. And his For You
Aw.
page is the best. I mean,
Is
he
it?
sends me, because mine is like gardening and books and, and then funny. And his is all humor because that's what he was on
yes.
Instagram for. And country things.
country boy things.
Fishing jokes. But some of them are quite funny. So he's like, you better tag me on your Friday Funnies if it's what I
Aw.
sent you.
He needs credit.
People send submissions to my Instagram DMs. They're
That's
like,
awesome.
maybe this will be in your Friday Funnies. And I'm like, if I do, I'll tag you.
They're definitely worth.
They're fun.
It's worth
fun.
following. Even if you hate sheep and you do not want to follow Katie for that, follow her for the
Just
Friday Funnies.
check it out. Late Night Friday.
Oh man, Katie, I loved talking with you today.
Yes, thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Yeah, we're so glad that you came, and I think we're gonna have to do another episode with you sometime.
That would be super
We
fun.
will
going
be
ahead and calling it.
You call it. Put
I'm
it in
calling
the calendar
it.
right
TikTok
now.
101.
Yeah.
We'll transition into that kind of episode. We will link all of Katie's, like her social media handle and everything. Maybe her TikTok. Are you on TikTok, like making videos, or you're more just?
Let me delete a few dance videos that I did
Wait, we're gonna
during
really
2020
Quick, go find her on TikTok.
because that's all that it was then, and I was like, oh, I'll dance in front of the chair.
And you have a dancing background. You could do it.
Not that, well, yeah.
We'll allow
that's
it.
another story.
We'll allow it. We'll talk about it on our next episode. But thank you so much for talking with us today, and we hope you guys will go and follow Katie, and I guess we'll hear from her next time.
Yes. All right. Bye.